Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the WTRL TTT Team Time Trial number 103. We're out on the UCI Harrogate reverse course, 2 laps. It's going to be really hilly, but pre-production, we were chatting a little bit about this course, and Dave was like, mayhem out there, man, like nonstop coming at you.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan, you would love racing on. Maybe you are going to race on it later
I am
today, but
racing later. I am racing
yeah,
later
there you
today.
go.
I couldn't miss this one.
It's right up your alley, man. So yeah, basically you've got 5 feature climbs each lap, make it 10 total that are really steep, really hard. And here's the reverse side of that: is it's steep on the backside. So no matter which way you go around this course, it's obviously the circuit reverse today. But Nathan, it's like just the intervals that you dig deeper than you really could imagine because you're in this team time trial format. So, we're moving into the summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, kind of settling back 5,000 racers. Nathan, if I told you 6 months ago we had 5,000, we might have been setting a record. Now, just another day at the office for Martin and his team.
Yeah, that's definitely crazy. Like we were just chatting a little bit beforehand too, and it was like, "Hey, how many we got today?" You had mentioned that, and he said, "Oh, it's only 5,000." Like only 5,000. Like really, this is. I mean, and it really is a testament to how much this has grown. So really, really awesome. Also maybe the course is a little bit of a defector away from
Turn off.
or a little bit of turn, or perhaps. Well, I mean, let's take a quick look at it though. Here we do have Zwift Hacks amazing website out there that has helped put together a lot of this. Swift Insider does use them as well for all, a lot of their course profiles for these maps. They're the ones who put this together. And you can see there it is, a little sprint, a little bit of a climb going into the sprint section. That's that downhill. A lot of times when we're on the forward side of this, we have seen that in the Zwift Racing League a lot. We've commentated that a lot. And then it kicks up into the finish line. But instead, you're going down that steep finish. What would be the normal finish line? You're going down that and then uphill, steady, false flats. And then it's a sharp right turn into that KOM climb reverse. Very, very solid. Then you climb out of the field, right? You climb in through the pastures and out of the field in that insanely steep 17% gradient as you're heading to the end of this course, Dave. I mean, whew, lot coming at you here.
Yeah, Holly Road. This profile does not do it justice, does it? That looks like a bunch of false flats down there on the bottom of the screen. It is severe, folks. As you said, Nathan, 17% in team time trial formation. That is tricky because that you've got to find a pace that suits everybody, or at least the riders that you're hoping to take to the finish with you. This is a real challenge here. Tough nut to crack, as they say. I love this new feature that we've added, though, getting this look at the course. It does kind of give you a feel, gives you a different perspective on the 2 laps that they're doing that add up each lap just under 14K. We get up to 27.2 total out here today. So, yeah, one of the more challenging days that we've had out here in the World Tactical Racing League. This is the 103rd consecutive week. Good luck to all of our racers around the 14 different zones that race. A few have already gone. Nathan, I didn't ask you already about course records that we've seen out here. It'll be interesting to see how the earlier teams did today, as a few zones, I'm going to guess probably we finished through zone 5 or 6 as we're racing here, even zone 7 and 8. And you might say, why are there multiple zones going at the same time as Platinum League? Well, Platinum League is invite only. These are the top teams from last week, and you're only as good as last week. So you could win, as let's say Sox for Watts. If they win 22 weeks in a row, take a week off, they're back racing in one of these time zones, Nathan, as you would well know. And then they would immediately requalify. So fair is fair. It's the way it works. We love it. It's been really, really fun. And we're going to get down to it. Nathan, these splits today, we're going to know by the first split, in my mind, what the top 3 teams will be. Because by the way you ride these first 2 of the 10 segments that we're kind of breaking it up into, that I am at least, we're going to know a lot about what your team is about today.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We'll have to wait and see how that ends up playing out because early on, those first couple of climbs are going to tell you a lot, especially that reverse. So it's going to tell you
Yeah.
who the stronger teams are, as well as who's able to kind of keep things together. I think that was one of the biggest struggles I remember on this course. Course is similar to this as well. Where how well are you able to climb in unison? You really got to have a steady rhythm together. If you do not, you're going to blow apart. So there's just that reality. Now, we are in with the lattes this week. We'll be jumping in with the mixed slash men's men's slash mixed racing here in just a moment. We are jumping in with the Vienna lattes as well. And as far as features go, there actually was no response on the features this past week in lattes. So make sure you're watching out for those emails that come out for those features. If you are interested and have qualified for the Platinum League, we are sending out emails looking for those who would like to be featured out here. But we do have our poster competition feature. And Dave, tell me about this for the winners this week, and then we'll jump down into the racing here. The Harrogate Reverse Golden Yorkshires. I don't actually understand this one very much, to be honest.
They just look delectable to me. So there was so if you were
How
at
to get
World,
Dave's approval? No, just get him just buy him some Yorkshire, some Golden Yorkshire. Buy him
easy.
whatever these baked goods are. You're good to go.
Well, yeah, there was a bakery right on course, about 100 meters away from the finish line in Harrogate, that would have been serving up all kinds of delectable things. But they really know their way around baked goods in Yorkshire. That's for sure. So this just brought back fond memories. Those look delectable, and they look like one of those sweets maybe that's not too much, not over the top. But TFC Hawk always does a great job too. I love that team. They have some real morale and esprit de corps, if you will, Nathan. So I guess it's sort of a general shout out to them too.
Yeah, right on, right on. And always awesome to see TFC Hawk out there participating. Now, if you want to get involved in the poster competition, make sure to put your submissions over on the WTRL Facebook group for the TTT. The Facebook group for the TTT. We take a look at these every week. Now, Martin had his selection. That is going to be the man behind all of the WTRL organization on the event side of things. And we love WTRL and the Chill Street. If you haven't noticed, there has been a little bit of non-chill in some of the Facebook groups lately. And so I think this was a great response coming from the Dirty Afternoon Delight. Very delightful with the Afternoon Delight Chill Street there with the peaches as well. Loving the Dirty Chronicle as always. Somebody went after my childhood, and I pity the fool who ain't working hard enough on their turn. This was perfect for me. Mr. Cheese, the special guest, or Mr. T. I said Mr. Tree. It's actually my dad's company, of course. And I think that's actually why there was a lot of this.
Oh, that
when I was young,
yeah.
the Mr. T thing kind of came through. My dad always would do the and the A team and all that. There was always toughing up, kids, and we were out there splitting logs and dragging brush all day. And kind of the A team feeling was around us as we would watch it at night afterwards. So loving it. Good job, Develicino. This is a great one. And then not a winner, but definitely an honorable mention to Diggler Mysteries. I always like how Stuart and Peter interacting. So this is an ongoing saga. So I mean, they're almost getting in and week out because their saga is how it's going down with the Dirty Chronicles. So the Diggler Mysteries. How do we beat Dirty Afternoon Delight? This week, Pete, simply push more watts. It is the ongoing question. Oh man. And I like the D&D at the bottom there. It's kind of a little bit of a shout out to the gamer side of things and the reality of that and what we're in. I don't know if they need to up their stamina points up front when they first got into the game.
Charisma. They've got the charisma.
They got the charisma. Yeah. Charisma points for sure. Absolutely loving it. Great job to all the guys out there. So let's go ahead and see if we can jump down to the images here in just a minute, everybody. We're getting we need to do a couple of updates here real quickly to make sure that we can grab those. But if you are hanging out in chat, make sure to go ahead and let us know. We will be able to bring in any questions over on social media. So go ahead and let us know if you have any questions, comments, what your favorite poster was, anything like that out there. What's happening with the TTT, who you're rooting for, let us know. We are going to jump on in with the lattes, and it is going to be the NCTC that we are jumping in with first. They were the first ones out on course, and it does look like that they have already taken on the initial UCI. Now I forget with 2 laps, it's a very short lap out here, Dave. Too.
Yeah,
The
they're not.
reality. It's not
Yeah,
super long.
they pack a lot of punch into each lap. You're right, though. I mean, so let's call it 13.6 per lap out here. But yeah, the story really is in the fine climbing segments that you have to make your way through. Is okay. So this team, NCTC Suffolk Punch. I like the name, I like the kit, and I like that you see 6 together still. Let's quickly, you can start with up to 8 riders. I'm going to guess these days, Nathan, as we're moving into mid-April, that you'll see a lot of teams starting with 7, 6 riders that maybe used to be starting with 8. It's just harder to fill out the team right now, understandably, as more people are able to get outside. So we take a look at a team showing us how you navigate this tricky sector here. Nathan, I think your strongest rider, really your strongest 2 riders, have a heavy duty obligation here to set a good pace, but to keep it realistic, to keep your guys motivated. You have learned all about this, haven't you? Exactly what I'm talking about, that master class in how a real strong rider does this with grace, right? You've got to bring the best out of your teammates. You don't do that by continually dropping them. You do that by almost think about that cool cattle dog, right? You take some good hard pulls, and then you go to the back and you sit in with the guys and make sure close a couple gaps for them, right, Nathan? Try to do a little extra work for them when you're back there. Just make yourself extremely useful.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it was a great job here. It looks like done by Dennison. To the front,
Agreed.
solid effort. Pulled the
Exactly what I
team over the
said.
top, and then
Yep.
didn't blow everything apart. It was very steady. It looks like this is all in unison, as we were talking about beforehand. And that's what's going to really keep these teams together over the top of these climbs. Now we do see Manel here from the TFC team. They were the first ones to go out. I believe one of the first ones to go out on course. Manel dropped off, so it does look like suffering on the first lap for him. It's going to be Pie here leading it out with Bins. They do got a lot of riders, it looks like, from the TFC team.
So
Sudworth, as well as Wesley. Jimbo's there, and D. McKay. That's a familiar name from TFC. Been around for quite a long time. So now, do they have a rider way off the front? Did Bins just take off, or is this a dropped rider from another TFC team? I'll have to look around and find out, but maybe just a rabbit to chase for them.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, I want to go back. This goes back many weeks of conversation, but when you look at this course, this really combines, well, one of the things that you've talked about and really coined that phrase, or I don't know if we coined it or not, but that blob technique, that blob technique will be seen a lot today. And I don't know that there's a faster way to get down the backside of the 5 climbs that we've talked about. No one's going to be able to keep that like PO Auto ceramic speed style, right? Just strung out 8 riders in a line. That's not doable there because of the draft effect, because of the dynamics and the physics and the gameplay out here. There are no power-ups, right? But really, you do see that slingshot effect happening. Here's a moment here where you really do see the riders setting the pace now, and we're kind of resetting on both ends. It's challenging. Let's be honest. Today it's harder to do this than it is to go up Alp to Zwift, to tell you the truth, as a team. Alp to Zwift, you can at least find a rhythm and settle in. Here, it's just all over the shop. Left, right, center. You got some heavy riders who are dying 1,000 deaths right now. And once we go over the top of this climb, all of a sudden, the poor climbers who've been setting the pace here, like Jimbo, Nathan, Jimbo is all of a sudden going to be pedaling his brains out trying to hold on to the bigger riders. So this is a tough day.
It's a really good point you make as well there with the consistency of Alp to Zwift. I was really concerned about the TTT on Alp to Zwift actually at the end of the year in 2020, but we got onto the climb and it got steady, and I was like, oh, this is the pace we're all going to hold about, and so we all just kind of got it settled in. That was it, and all the way to the top. Whereas this, it definitely is going to be very different, because when you hit the climbs, you can go not into a steady pace. This is the pace we have to hold to be competitive, but it's going to be way over what you could hold for the duration of the TTT. And then you come back to what you can handle for the duration of the flat. And then what can I do because the most time gained is on the climb. So it is about going into the red. It's not about a steady, consistent pace. It's about what can you hold in the flats and still get the most out of the climbs. And so that is such a knife's edge. It's a very different kind of a TTT because attacking the climbs is where you're going to win the race today.
It's counterintuitive, Nathan. When you look at okay, if you were a world tour team owner and in the decision making wing for the team, you try to hire a variety of riders. You'd like to have a couple good sprinters, some good lead out guys, some good punchers, some good rouleurs, some good climbers, GC guys, time trialists. All of those roles are needed. You have 28 spots basically, so you spread it out amongst all of that. And you probably go pretty heavy on your utility type rider, the guy who's like a Swiss Army knife or woman that can do a lot. Well, when you look at a team time trial team, that's exactly what you don't want. What you want are 6 to 8 riders who are very similar in ability levels, who have similar the markers on you know uh, their ability needs to be within a tight range. You following me there?
Yep,
Versus having
100%.
a couple great climbers, a couple great sprinters. It's not a great mix here.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see if there was any swaps between the teams. If the teams that are out there that are maybe watching during, or anybody who has inside information, if they're like, "Well, we need a climber this week. We need a, you know, some sort of
Well, you
versatility within the team. Having a little bit of a swap out on this week might be a huge benefit." And I'm a guest writer, obviously, for On the Rivet a lot of times, and we do see a lot of communications going on about how to stack a team differently week in and week out, or just a lot of times it is because it is, everybody's got jobs. It's like who's, or in real life commitments, who's able to race this week, things like that at this level. But sometimes there is a little bit of jostling around to figure out who fits where for the best times, especially when the courses change up this much.
Yeah, and this is definitely when, if you have that depth in your roster, that you bring on your climbing type riders, your climbers and your punchers. There's the guys or the women that you want. Speaking of women, they'll be out on course a little bit later. It's always a fun. It's really perfect because just as we have our men's groups finishing, we start sending the women out on course, which creates a really great broadcast for us. Oh, good grief. It's nice to see data, isn't it? Two guys, Zenata, 19 that's going to be our check at the first spot there. TFC Hornet, who we were just watching in with a 9:21. My eyes are going bad. I had to enlarge my screen there. So this check now has got pretty close, 2 seconds there, splitting up our first two teams. Then you've got the Vikings in at a 9:49, just 1 second quicker than Stellar from Z Sun R. Spitfire on the same time, actually. So you can see it's 30 seconds more or less, there or thereabouts, between our first 5 teams right now with ODZ, Destroyers of Cookies. But we start in reverse order as far as the fastest qualifying teams head out last. And we're going to be waiting to see what the Venus edition from Z Sun R, Nathan. And there it is. Huh. Interesting. They must have had some trouble out there. And 11:11 is what we're putting up right now. We'll see if that changes at all. TSZ Rocky Road in right now is our final team that we're waiting for at that check. So here we go. We are now well underway. Two guys and TFC look like they're really separating themselves from the other teams out here. This is our lattes, our feature group that we're joining for today's World Tactical Racing League edition 103. All right, you can see the greatest one. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, looking at the Destroyers of Cookies here as they do finish up their first lap, they are on a 9:55 for the time. But with the way that this course goes, I wonder. You did say up front. I think up front you will see those standout climbers most likely. You might see racers implode a little bit, though, with the reality of this course. Those VO2 max type efforts, those efforts that are very short and punchy, if you go a little bit too far into the red, they can completely blow up a rider. And having a team that has taken on those climbs, not quite completely destroying themselves, not completely being in the absolute beyond red and end up imploding the whole team. Destroyers of Cookies, they still got 5 riders with them. They're being pretty consistent, it seems like. They're within 5 seconds of 4th place. there's still plenty of time here, or even up to Venus here, Z-Sun Venus at this point. So, two guys not a TFC Hornet, they've got themselves a good buffer. If they don't implode, I think they might walk away with first and second, but I think Destroyers of Cookies, they're still in it here. Andy Chambers, Bert Sandy's in here, Brett Elder, Owen Hazelby, and as well as Roger Messenger. And this is one of the most old school teams. One of the first kits in game was the ODZ team, and they do an amazing job, this team, across the entire community, providing group rides, group workouts, live streaming. They've got their own team ODZ live stream that goes out every morning and evening, run by multiple team members. Definitely a team to be checking out here. And Destroyer Cookies here, always good to see them. Very much a weekly feature in the lattes.
They were the first team, Nathan, that I met in real life at a Zwift event that we did in Long Beach with Charlie and that team. It was so much fun, and connecting with ODZ. That was the first group of folks that I met, and I love seeing their success continue. That's for sure. So Nathan, going back to what you were saying about the teams being able to sustain these efforts and what's going to happen in the last 5 minutes of this race, it's going to be wild. I completely agree with you about the DOC, Destroyer of Cookies, that they're still in it, because a lot of things can change out there. And if you're only 30-ish seconds back right now, you're actually still in the conversation. Nathan, Holly Road there, that 17% climb that we talked about at the top of the show, I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, where in our neighborhood, if you were playing basketball and the basketball went out in the street, it was hilly enough that ball would get rolling and you couldn't chase it down, right? You might lose the ball, actually. Holly Road is like that. If you let a ball loose, you could not run it down. It's like dropping it down an elevator shaft. So this, when you're trying to climb up and out of that, if you have a team that's trying to make up 5 seconds, if they've got their rhythm, they could do it. There's no doubt. You got a lot to work with there. Interesting to see 5 riders together. That's not too bad, is it, at this point? Time taken off of the 4th rider, so obviously the more the better here. But 5, I think if you look at it, to get to this point now, because what you've done is cleared the first 5 hurdles here. 5 to go now.
Yeah, and I think we're really going to see in this back end of this course whether or not these riders have tempered themselves. Whether or not these, and I think the telltale there will be the back end of these groups. You'll start seeing whether or not riders are struggling to hang on and amongst them. You'll start seeing early on, if riders who are super strong pressed the riders who are maybe not as strong of climbers in there, but maybe strong, very strong on the flats. And you'll start seeing whether or not they have put those riders into the red, put them over their comfort zone too much. And you look at the back of these packs and whether or not riders start slipping off, losing seconds. And, that knife's edge we were talking about earlier of the consistency within the crew. If they held something that wasn't quite a pace that somebody that's on this team that's their 4th rider or 5th rider, they start dropping them off early on, especially over this second King of the Mountain, Queen of the Mountain. I think this second one is going to really be where it's at. And we do see this here now with Hayden as well as the Turbo Thomas, who seems to be a really useful engine, bringing Hayden back to the wheel, it looks like at this point. But, this is what I was talking about right here. Just barely off the back. You start losing those riders. If you lose them on this climb or the reverse KOM the second time, there's still enough time left in the lap that it matters to have that extra pull through. These 2 riders up front, Danny as well as Booker, this little bit here, it might not be worth it to have that separation because the speed's going to be lost from those other riders. They're going to have to slow down. That knife's edge has been lost. At this point, it's getting a little bit dull when it comes to the time gains.
Yeah, it's really hard, but you have to accept the reality, Nathan. Those 2 need to wait. Because you're right, the next time they pick up speed, you need all 5 together, right, to get that flow going and to mob up and just kill it on the descent. They're doing it. Really good job here. Way to react. It's also all about how you respond to an adverse situation out here. Quick recovery here by TFC. Very experienced team, and that was a nice job there.
Yeah, well done, actually. They did bring it back a little bit. Everybody rolled through at a perfect time, too. If they would have came over the top, that showed some experience with this TFC team, in my opinion, because if they came over the top separated, the speed that the 2 front runners would have gone away with would have continued. And then everyone went and got the advantage of the speed gains on the downhill, got their rest in a little bit, and then been able to be a part of the story on this next section. Instead, now they're a part of the story because they got that recovery and they can start taking their pulls very quickly. You get back into these flat sections after descents like that, and someone's still chasing, they use their pull to get back on. They've got to rest for another 30 seconds to a minute, maybe even 2 minutes, and they're already in the red again before they hit the climb again. So great experience to go over the top together.
Yeah, you're shooting yourself in the foot when you do that. And the whole name of the game is not making those kind of mistakes out here. And you can see now, so they're on this negative 2% sector here. They are hauling now. They're together. They're doing exactly what they should be doing. I'm proud of TFC. They really are helping us illustrate what we're talking about here. Super challenging course, brutal. I want to give a shout out to Ryan Miller. I see Ryan cheering for Team TFC. Well, your support seems to be having a positive effect, Ryan, as these guys are flying right now.
So yeah, good to see Ryan. Long-time viewer as well. Deadpool says hello. There's all these little in community memes that we have now at this point that I absolutely love. People have these little characters that they take on within the community. Loving it. Good to see you, Ryan, and good shout out to the TFC. This is going to be TFC Storm that are out there. Hornet's got that 2245. Storm, I believe, at the is this going to be Storm? I'm seeing TFC Spitfire and the Hornets actually within this group. So perhaps there wasn't a change up in the name there for H. Thomas here, but solid effort here coming from H. Thomas.
Waka Wakas, Nathan. Is that new to you? It is to me, I'll be honest.
Well, okay, I got a message that the Pawaka Wakas were a specific bird that I asked about the bird that it was, and I got a direct message actually about it. I'm going to have to find it and figure out because it was a great little tidbit coming from the community that I need to get back to and pick up on. But just like country flags, it took me a solid year to remember much of anything.
I'm going to guess that's a New Zealand bird or Australian or something, but we'll find out. But thank you for that heads up, Nathan. TFC Hornets sitting there at 22:45, so you can see that that's an 18-second advantage there for Cryogen. Z-Sun, our Stellar now 23:07. This is really basically the end of lap one. Is what we're looking at, the halfway point of the race out here. As well, they're doing 27.2K today. So 22:27, 22:45. Then Z-Sun with their two teams here, Stellar. Oh, things changing now. Let me update. Two guys has just come through the 22:28. Here we go, folks. We are locked and loaded. Welcome to downtown Payne City. We've got a super battle going on now. Only 1 second separating our top two teams after one lap, Nathan. That's unbelievable with a course with this profile. To see something like that happening is nuts. So Cryogen, the Pawaka Wakas, welcome to the big time Platinum League, as two guys, Zenata is right there with them. That's such a negligible difference. It's tied basically for all intents and purposes. So TFC Hornet, then Z-Sun, Stellar, Z-Sun Venus. The Destroyer cookies are getting, they're sitting at 23:17, not bad at all. TFC Spitfire, and then the Vikings. That rounds out our top 8, and it looks like Rocky Road must have scratched today, not taking their start.
I believe this is going to be the two guys Nada that we are looking at here, as it's going to be Gama Machado, and it's going to be Figueredo, Madeira, and Miguel all hammering away onto this little bit of a false flat climb. Well, not really. I mean, 3%. You start getting into actual climbing ranges here now as they head into the sprint. Bender, they are catching one of the Z-Sun riders that was dropped off. Looks like Gama is going to be the rider that's instigating to get a little bit more out of the pedals. And look, he backed off just enough to let Madeira pull the rest of them back up. This is very much showing again the experience of these riders. One last little kick, and then hopefully they're all back together so they can use that downhill, rest up a little bit. Machado needs to get back on terms right now. 169 beat sprint, 268. Grab that wheel and come over the top together. Then you can start taking pulls again. 1 second difference. This is really the make it or break it for them, because over the top here, they have to wait. It's a lot of wasted speed, wasted time, especially on the faster sections of course, like the flats or the downhills.
This is like that guy in the old Western movie who's running as the train is leaving the station, and he just grabs hold of the caboose and pulls himself on. That's exactly what Machado is doing. How's that for a visual image, right? But that's it. He's got
The
to latch on.
caboose.
He's going to get there. He's going to
Come
grab it.
on,
He's got it. But,
Machado. It's 2.8.
man, it hurt.
2.5 is
This
right
hurt.
there.
He's
Made
there.
it happen.
Good job.
Made
Oh, my
it
gosh.
happen.
I was a little worried for a second.
I was too. I wasn't sure he was going to make it happen. It does look like Madera's going to ramp it up now as he knows they're on. The team helped him out there. The team definitely, we saw 2.5 all together there. Over the top, if he would have been on terms. So that's the other thing. Now, watch this. Take note, everybody. That 2 to 3 seconds, that was actually a solid 10 seconds that they waited, but it probably lost them 2 to 3 seconds because they weren't together. And I don't think that they gained 2 to 3 seconds climbing necessarily. The difference there of him being on when they came, right on when they came over the top and not was probably 1 second, whereas they probably lost a solid 2 to 3 seconds on the downhill from them having to slow down the speed they could have taken over the top, because Madera obviously had 4.1 to give, as you can see. And they could have been doing that right from the get-go if everybody was on terms. But the waiting there, that's what slowed things down. It's going to be a little bit of time lost. Lessons learned. They're obviously now bringing it all back together. Maybe at the top of this next climb, they'll make it happen.
This is Hornet that we're looking at?
This is going to be two guys. This is two guys Portugal team. Portuguese team, I believe, when it comes to...
Tuga Zanata is the squad we're looking at. I apologize there.
Yeah, and they're absolutely...
For some reason, I thought we'd
just
changed. So, yeah, they're doing a really... And the numbers that they have is impressive. Here's where they got to just be careful again. As you push, it's easy to break the china as well. So you can see filling in the gap is Figueiredo. Here's a look at Cryo coming up on Z-Sun. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what we've got here.
Looks this is the Wakas. Yeah, this is going to be that team we were talking about that was leading things out by 1 second. They had that 1 second advantage over Tugas Nada, and they are actually being chased by Tugas Nada right now over the top of this climb. Tugas Nada 1:11 back. We'll see if they can bring back that 12 seconds. It does look like Cryogen have been climbing well, and the second half of the course, they are separating themselves a little bit more. We'll see if they can continue on with this trend as they've maybe taken away a win here for the Piwakawawakas out there today.
So it looks like right now, Martin, good job here, as this team really wants to keep 5 together. That's an understatement for sure, because we still have quite a ways to go. 8K basically of racing, but a significant amount of climbing. So you never know what's going to happen. They're pressing so hard out here as CryoGen does a really nice job of cleanly moving through as a unit there. You don't see many passes better than that, Nathan. I'd give them an A+ for that effort right there. You can see they all just kind of stepped on it for a moment in unison, and that's how you do it. CryoGen doing a fantastic job out here. So we're waiting to see. Pawakawakas have the fastest time, but only by 1 second at that last check. But 14K, we're already seeing teams, as you can see, TFC Spitfire in with a 33.03. That's going to be 4 seconds quicker than 33.07, but these teams are going to be down in the low 32s, Nathan, when they come through that checkpoint.
Yeah, Piwakawakas here having an amazing ride. Tugas Nada have been chasing them down over the top of the climb, though. Are they all together? They have not quite gotten there yet. Madera, the separation is here. They're going to have to just let that go if it's going to get that much separation, because they are chasing down the Cryogens. 4 riders at this point for that top spot versus what looks to be, I think they still have 6. Is that going to be correct here? 1, 2, 5 riders. 5 riders left with the Cryogen team.
Nathan, in order to win when you're in a battle like this, you have to risk losing. And that's exactly where Tugas Zanata is right now, right? They are very, very close to having a huge win here. But to do that, they very well could find themselves 4th if they blow the whole thing up. But hey, man, I'm about going all in. Just push those chips into the middle of the table and let the cards play. I think it's a lot more fun to race the way they are. The Portuguese just crushing it out here, but you can see that that's what happens. You have a look now. We're looking at CryoGen having the same kind of problem, little bit of gaps. It's not so much about aerodynamics right now at this point when you're climbing, but things quickly change when you're descending again. You need to make sure the team is all back together. Right now, this isn't really a big issue having one rider dangling off the front, Nathan, but we'll see. I think that this thing will regroup as they come up and over the top and cresting the climb.
Yeah, it does look like Mike's doing a really good job. Taylor dragging everybody back up
settling
to the
it down.
wheel. 4.3,
Yep.
4.2, as you can see. So, yep, settling it right on down. Cryogen here, the man out of Switzerland. He's going to bring it back into the fold. Taylor up on the top out of the UK. Looks like at about 300 watts here. Martin, it looks like he's got the number 3 in there. Maybe the third wheel. A lot of times they put the numbers in there to be who's going in what order. Mike back to the front seems to have a lot of power for the team out there today. Gliding here now, making his way. Is it going to be her way? I believe this is going to be a mixed team, actually, on the back end of the pack here. So always awesome to see in these categories, the mixed teams. And solid results here, it looks like, for the team. We'll see if Gladden can get back on terms. Almost there for the Cryogen team. Struggling. We'll see if they let her back on. Looks like they are. She's getting right back on terms.
She's so useful. Just a great move there.
It's going to be Joanne Gladding. Joanne Gladding here for
I got to
this
give Joanne
Cryogen
Gladding
team.
the ride of the day, Nathan. This is a super performance that we're witnessing here. She's on one of the teams that's is in with a shot to win. They're down to 6K to go, 6K and a little bit of change. This is Cryogen that we're looking at. The battle now really shaping up. We're going to be waiting for their teams. Everybody's doing a good job out here today. Very, very impressive. But we now wait for two guys, Zenata, Z-Sun R, Venus, and that's it. These are the two teams really that we're expecting. I think that's a short list, but one of those two teams should win out here today in the lattes. This has been really fun checking out the lattes and this great battle today.
Yeah, it's going to be Joanne Gladden coming out of the UK. Absolutely killing it. Looks like level 33 Zwifter. Masters rider. She's got an FTP of 221 at 60 kilograms. So really flying. Great to see from this women's Masters rider. Riding amongst the boys and showing them how it's done, it looks like, out here today. Mike here out of Switzerland continues to lead things out. Loving the Afro puff on the front here as he kills it at 4-3 here. They're about to hit the really crucial section of the course, that 17% uphill gradient out of the pastures here. And Gladden now rolling on through with some speed. Good to see. Taylor, though, they're 4-7 into the Super Tuck, 58 kilometers per hour. As you can see, that's where it's at. They're going to get their little bits of rest in because this next section you're going to need it. It's going to be nothing but a punch over the top for the second half of the course.
Oh, boy, you're absolutely right, Nathan. If you can put any kind of charge on the battery, you do it now because this is going to be brutal, especially when you look at how close it is for these two teams. And there it is, down into the 31s. Ooh la la. That is something else. Cryogen Pawaka Waka's here with a 31.44. I anticipated, Nathan, I think I said something like the low 32s, and that's where two guys Zenata is. But this ride from Cryogen Pawaka Wakas is a next level performance. Joanne is absolutely killing it with the boys out here today. We talked about having 5 riders that are evenly matched, and that's what we're seeing. We've seen just about every one of these riders, Nathan, have to fight through a bad stretch. But look at this, folks. We are locked and loaded. This is not a drill. This is big-time bike racing. Esports at its best. That pitched up to 16%. You see it's starting to level out a tiny bit here, but it's still a brutal 10, 11, 12%. This climb is ridiculoso. Crazy out here. Cryogen, Nathan, I don't know that you're going to be able to beat this team the way they're riding right now. They're leaving everybody in their
wake. Very difficult to take this team down, especially with that gap that they opened up. And that really happened, it looked like, on the UCI reverse climb the second time for the KOM. That seemed to be where they got the separation. It was so well drilled. They came over the top altogether. There was a punch over the top from one of the riders, brought the speed up because everybody was on the wheel. When they hit the top of the climb, they were able to grab that speed. Then it was consistency all the way down with the Super Tuck. Then they got into a steady rhythm into the climb to the pastures, through the pastures, everybody together again. You can see how the cohesiveness of this Cryogen team has brought those extra seconds through. Whereas Tugas Nada, it might have been, there is a reality that the riders, they had to drop one rider off. It might have been that they were having to wait up a little bit. The reality of maybe the strength amongst some of the riders, too, to just not have the same watts per kilogram, the same kind of speed. But also it may have been the organization, too. Some of the seconds where they had to wait now that they're trying to bring this time back, there's not a whole lot of landscape left to do so. They're going to have to go all in to win this race out here today. That's been the battle for the top 2 spots. There's plenty of other things happening, though, amongst the other teams. We'll start to make our way forward and start to see some of these finishes from the other teams out on course still.
It's crazy, Nathan. There's times in life where time, it's so fluid. Sometimes it seems like things take forever and time goes so slow. Sometimes time goes so fast. And I tell you, when you're waiting to get your team back together over the top of a climb, it seems like time goes by incredibly fast. It's just burning through because every second that you work for to gain on the climb, it is so hard to give those seconds back, but that's the reality of why you need to keep your team together and figure that out. McLaughlin here of Z-Sun. This is another team that we're just picking up now. I see 3 or 4 on my screen. Okay, so I thought it might have been a little more dangerous than it was. They're okay here because they've only got about 500 meters to go as Z-Sun are going to bring it home.
This is going to be the Venus team, I believe. No, excuse me, it's Stellar.
Venus.
Right, correct. No, Stellar. Right. You are correct. Stellar, because they were the first ones to go out, and they actually held on to their first to go out team. The slowest coming in for the week for the qualification. We'll see if they can up that, as it does look like they're holding on to 6th at a 33.07. We'll see if they can take down the Destroyer of Cookies. They will be beating Vikings. Yorkshire, they're having a tough day, it looks like, out there at 34.08. It does look like they were caught by Z-Sun Stellar here. 33.07, though, coming in from Z-Sun. Now that can't be right for Vikings. I have a feeling that perhaps there's something off in the data there. Maybe? No, that is correct. My mistake. 34.08. That's going to be right. So I think you're going to sell maybe just a little bit off this week with a minute back from the Z-Sun team as they are flying to the line. One last kick coming from Lucky now. Great to see. Loving the kick. And this again is going to be, I believe, mixed team all together to the line. Always great to see.
Putting a red number up there. Good job by Z-Sun. This is Beckett that we're in with now. We're going to start moving around through the teams that are finishing at this point. Folks, if you are a fan of the WTRL, I think, Nathan, fair to say, this might be the toughest, in the top 3 toughest courses that we race on. I think that's fair. This has been really a rough one today. So congratulations to all of our finishers. We're looking at that split time there from Pawakawakas, and it's incredible at 31:44. As we said, a lot can be lost or gained at Holly Road that brings you into the finish. But I think the Pawakawakas are going to be tough to beat out here today. This is TFC that we're in with now as they are hitting the afterburners on their way in. 65 kilometers per hour. That's like a rocket ship. Good job, guys.
Danny Thorgood to the line here. The Welshman now 300. This guy's got a 325 watt FTP. He's going to have a little bit of a kick to the line. As you can see, 130 beats per minute currently coming from him. So him and Thomas, I believe, they're going to be the 2 riders really trying to ramp it up. And TFC Storm, just as a heads up, the Storm is actually an all-women's team for TFC. That's why that tag is in there, that it's not the same tag from the men's mixed latte. So she kept her tag on, but is jumping in as a guest rider, I believe, here for the TFC Spitfire is who she's riding for out here today.
Gotcha. Good catch.
Yeah, this is going to be Thomas having an awesome ride amongst the boys out here. I'm loving how Helen Thomas here is mixing it up. And that's one of the cool things about Zwift is that across the genders, this whole idea of being able to mix it up with the boys, it is a great thing that we see in and amongst the groups here out here today as Storm makes their way to the line. Now it's going to be the next team that's going to be the Hornets that are having a really good ride out here today.
Yeah, and they're just about, there's the arch right now. So that gantry is when you are done and dusted. Look at them slugging this one out. Boy, you got to wonder how much lactic acid can you possibly make now, as this is it. Put paid on a great job out there by TFC. So, all right. We're going to be, I was expecting finishing times to be pretty close to 40 minutes today. It looks like the Pawakawakas are going to get underneath that as we jump in with NCTC. 5 riders together, about a K to go.
Yeah, NCTC, solid ride here from them. NCTC, this is a team. Where did they start out at, though? Out on course here. I'm looking through, looking for a time from MCTC. Did they come in under a different name? Because the Suffolk Punch, I'm not seeing them in the time show. We'll see if we can get an update here from WTRL because they are most definitely a part of the race here at this point. But in the registration, Jake Wolf, Martin Smith, Owen Wilson, Paul Dennison, William Wilson. I have a feeling there's some in-family battling in the TTT going on here with the common last name, perhaps, as Suffolk Punch are absolutely killing it in the final K. We'll see another little punch to the line in just a moment, I think, from this team in all blue.
Yeah, the one nice thing about this course is at least you get a bit of a reprieve for the last few hundred meters here. As you can see, they're on a false flat downhill, and then it starts to kick up a little bit, but you're basically home at this point. If they look up, they'll see that the finish line is there. They're in full throttle mode right now as we wrap this one up, and let's see if they can get in under 45, and they did. Good job. We're back in with Cryogen and Gladding.
Looking for the win. Looking for the win
they're
here.
In the hunt.
And
Actually,
did you see these little
the
punches
hunt
here?
did.
Dave, you want to speak to this right here? This little punch on the downhills. If you haven't seen this before, going into these orange numbers and then into the super tuck and rotating through, definitely a great way to gain a lot of speed. As you see Mike now do the same and pull the other riders up through. You'll see their whole go up most likely a solid 59 kilometers per hour. We'll see. No, it actually ends up right on the wheel there. So did not pull it off completely the way they usually want to, but still gained a little bit of speed. Gladding needs to get back on terms. Well, with 4 riders, though, needed to cross the line. She could roll it in, but she's going to make it looks like.
Yeah, get right up on that wheel. You make a good point. They were right on the threshold there, Nathan. Not quite going fast enough with everybody that they could take advantage, because that's where you pick up a half second or a second. But you know what? They've been to the pain bank. They've made a lot of deposits. They're going to take a huge withdrawal out here now, Nathan, because Cryogen is going to get it done. Cryogen has been in fuego throughout this 2021 season. And here's another great example in our lattes. Pawaka Waka's in the house. That's it, Nathan. I think that we're going to bring them across the line. Z-Sun, our Venus, we're jumping in with now. Don't worry, folks. We'll have a chance to look at all of our results here in a few minutes. The women racing in moments, bring it home. Well, actually, some of the women did a great job already today on our mixed teams out here, so I should be careful with my phrasing there. But for a majority of the guys that are racing today, their race is just about done, like Z-Sun are. Coming in hot, Nathan.
Great little sprint to the line here. Now in with Madeira. He's been leading out this group pretty well with the 2 guys. Team Gamma, Machado back on terms. Oh, Machado off the back now, actually. They're down to 3 riders. This is what we were talking about. We've seen this over and over again. They need Machado to come across, to come across the line, I believe, in order to get a good time. Do they have 4 up there? No, Worrell's there from NCTC. So no Worrell there, as you can see. So it's going to be 3, right. And Machado's got to ramp it up now. Figueredo now is trying to hold back a little 2.8. He's just got too much power. Is now 0 watts per kilogram coming from these riders. They see it's not a super tuck. They know they have to wait. As now, here comes Machado back to the team.
It's funny. You can see Figueredo is looking around like, who are you in the blue jersey? You are like, where's you come from? And this is
Madeira, now ramping it up. They're going to get him back on wheel. He's just ramping up for the speed. Machado is going to make it happen. They're all back together, but there was some time definitely lost there. We'll see if they can even hold on to that second place. Hornets might have taken it down. We'll have to wait for the results, though.
Well, you're right, Nathan, though. It's more interesting what's happening behind them and in front of them, because you know Pawaka Waka's didn't miss a step out there. So did Tugas Nada unfortunately stumble in the last K or couple of Ks and open the door for TFC Hornet to take second today? Oh, man, I am going to be very interested to see what that result looks like. These are some riders that did their work earlier that are going to just enjoy the last few kilometers of racing out there. That was exciting. Wow. Lattes awesome. Really delivered.
I'm really liking the way that we're featuring each of the classes as well. We can really dig in to who they are, get some names out there, understand, what's happening within those teams, learn the teams week in and week out within this Platinum League. So Keep those features coming, everybody. We are going to, a little bit of an announcement. We're going to head over to the women's racing here in just a moment. We'll start getting some times up out on screen. But the Zwift Running League is actually just launching. If you guys did not know, April 16th through May 21st. It's presented by WTRL. WTRL.racing. Go check that out if you are into running out on Zwift and you want to be a part of something similar to what you've seen with the Zwift Racing League. Well, WTRL is now bringing you also the running side of things. Jump on into that. Here is going to be the schedule for it. Across the zone, serving the entirety of the world as usual. And as you can see, zones 1 through 6 for the Zwift Running League starting April 16th. Make sure to go register over at WTRL.racing for that. Now, again, quick little look. If you're just joining with us, this is the course that we're on out here today. We are on the UCI World's Reverse 2 laps, the World's course from 2019. That's what we're out, but reverse out here today. And let's go ahead and jump right on in with the women. The first seed out to go out there today, that is going to be Art Electrons here, Dave.
Yeah, they actually started the Worlds, Nathan, for the road races out in Leeds, which was, I don't know, maybe 25 miles away from the course. So they had but the way they made their way onto those circuits was there was a couple hours of racing before they got on. Because if you had them race for 7 hours on the circuits, everybody would be dead at the end of the race. So, I mean, this is a very challenging course. As I was saying, if you were with us an hour ago, that profile just doesn't do justice to how severe these climbs are. There's 5 of them per lap, and they are leg breakers, no doubt. Looks like we've already got some checks coming in here. So this does tell us a lot. And it's a 10:37. Boy, they're on a good ride here. That's GSH Gold, the 4.0 edition. Looking really good. It's Adam Racing, Team Electrons in with an 11:02. But again, we are starting in reverse GC order. So our fastest teams, based on their qualifying times, will be going out last.
Yeah, and as you do see, GSH Gold, Adam Racing, who is out on screen. Well, I have a feeling. Now, we'll see if we can find GSH Gold with a solid time out there. Interesting to see. They were the 4th to go out on course with a 10:37, actually. So a lot of these teams have started. We're getting a little bit of a slow up here on a little bit of the data, but 11:05 here from this Adam Racing. They're having a solid result so far. Currently sitting in that second place. Tompkinson, Sare, Hutzi, and Ashman. Now, 10 seconds back, though, they're getting a little bit of separation now. They may have to let Clark go. That might be just a little bit too much here. Ashman, will see if she can get back on terms, because 3 riders across the line are not going to do it when it comes to the riders that you do need. As now Ashman here, 2.7, kicking away here, backs off the 2.8. You do see that Tompkinson can see the reality of the situation and needs to slow down just a tad to allow her team to get back together.
You show up at the finish line with 3 riders, you are a day late and $1 short, right? You're not getting anywhere. So that's what makes this so complex, is it's not just about your day, it's about your teammates' day as well, and that collective effort. That's why these teams bond so well together, Nathan, because it's a lot different than just being on a team that does ZRL. Well, I shouldn't say ZRL, because that's a lot of team time trialing, actually, but a team that just does points racing or regular road racing. The relationship between these riders is significantly closer, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this team, Electrons, it's going to be featuring Allison Ross, Joe Hussey. It's going to be Julie Clark, Kath Tompkinson, Sarah Sare, and Viet Ashman. It is going to be a team out of the UK, and they all fairly solid riders, it looks like here. A lot of experience out on Zwift. I'd say Viet Ashman there with level 12, maybe the newcomer to Zwift amongst them. Also, Joe Hussey there with a level 23 in the end, yet there with a level 12. We are seeing maybe a new recruit also with Allison Ross on the team. It does look like a little bit of separation has been happening as Sari comes on through. Solid effort as she pushes through level 29 Zwifter coming out of Guernsey. 55 races actually under her belt on Zwift, and leading things out, it looks like, for the team over the top, but needs to back off just a tad. They really need to come together here, because the reality for the Air Electrons here is this kind of kick, it benefits her for her speed, but they create a snowball effect as a group. So getting it back together, second lap, maybe have a little bit better time over the top of the climbs.
Jamie Lee Wright, one of the riders that really ascended from the community leagues into Premier League, is from Guernsey. I had never heard of Guernsey, Nathan, until I got involved with the World of Zwift. I think that's extremely cool, right? How much have we learned about countries and flags and food and horses by being involved in
about
this
the
league?
world, about everything in the world? I have to agree with you there.
Yeah.
So,
We've learned a lot.
Definitely.
Been a
I think the
blast.
most
It
experienced
really
rider
has.
here for as far as Zwift racing goes, and the reality of it is going to be, well, the two more experienced, I think the leaders on this team when it comes to Zwift racing perhaps would be Julie Clark, I believe, as well as Kath Tompkinson, both of them level 30 plus Zwifters with well over 100 races under their belt, 125 races for Julie Clark that we're looking at on screen right now at 158 beats per minute, looking to weld the team back together. Perhaps was waiting up for one of her teammates. She is doing a solid 2.7 watts per kilogram now. But then also Kat Tompkinson there with 150 races under her belt. Solid, what looks to be 217 FTP for Tompkinson as she waits up for her teammate here on the back end. On that canyon, looks like she chose a lightweight wheel set today. I think she has the experience and the points most likely to pick up a different wheel set. So I have a feeling that today this was on purpose for her to try and maybe lead the climbs. Well, excuse me, that's Ashman. Excuse me, that's Ashman. That was actually Ashman. Tompkinson, she said, forget it. I just ride the Tron bike as the most.
Tron, make it easy. Yeah. Tron me up, baby. So I think it's fascinating. I have really come to appreciate the difference that the equipment makes, especially over the last month, Nathan. So, all due respect, I sort of undervalued that, but not anymore. And sometimes even it goes to such a high level where you see one of the best climbers using deep dish carbon wheels, and you'd say that doesn't make sense, but it's because they're so strong that they don't need the lighter wheel on the climbs, but it helps out for setting a faster speed when they're on the flats. And it's really, it's a tactical chess match out here, but a lot of the strategy, some of it you can control. And one of the things you can control is your equipment choices. Looks like we've got an overtaking about to happen here, Nathan.
Yeah, good spot there, perhaps. Or is that just going to be... No, it's actually a team that's split. They split up a little bit, and they're coming back together. Yep. It's going to be the WTRL team with Lisa Bolton, Maureen Ruddy, Patricia White, Samantha Curry. Sarah Earls is on here as well, Scotty Shell, and Shelly Hindley. Laura Cassie Go as well, who we're looking at right now.
And help me out, Nathan. The team name here. This is What's Up UPC.
Yeah, this is going to be the What's Up UPC
the
WTRL.
Good for them. You're not going to see but a handful of teams with 7 riders out here today, and they've already completed 1 lap out here. Even more than that, they're well into lap number 2 here in Yorkshire. This is the Harrogate Circuit Reverse. It's 27.3-ish kilometers of racing out here today. But, Nathan, I don't think we've seen another team with 7 on our screen all day.
Yeah, great job by them keeping organized. I think part of the way they are keeping organized, you can see the numbers in the name very clearly across all of them. They have put that team tag in for themselves.
Bro.
That is going to tell you exactly, maybe not using Discord, or maybe even if they are using Discord, just to see it on screen, who goes when, where, why, and how. And they're most likely being kind of dynamic about it at times, but you can see Lisa Bolton here with the number 2 in the name. You're also seeing White here with the number 4 in the name. That is going to be Patricia White, now taking her pull at 4.1 watts per kilogram. And so that is so that if you're wondering why those numbers are there, it's the order and who takes pulls when. And when number 4 is done, you should see 5 come to the front. Or perhaps they have a DS telling them number 7 go. Number 8 go.
That's
Not
what
sure.
I was thinking.
Perhaps that's just an identifier for them.
I almost think that would be it. I'm going to try to get to the bottom of that, but I could really see where it's easier to say 7 to the front, 6, you're next, 4, move to find 5. You know what I mean? That kind of, it just makes it very like an air traffic controller.
Yeah, that's a great point there. Maureen Ruddy here Only 6 races under her belt. Level 12 Zwifter. She's going to be one of the newer riders here to the world of Zwift. Actually jumped into racing back in April of 2020. And now between
Sounds
then
about
and
right.
now has done about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 races. Jumped in, it looks like, to racing in the WTRL back in Zone 12, actually. I think that was an early morning for her for Zone 12, perhaps. Unless she is riding on the U.S. side or across the pond, actually, but with the Scotland flag. Zone 8 last week was the qualifying for this. Now jumping in the Platinum League for the first time for WTRL is going to be Maureen Ruddy. Another rider with a solid FTP in this C latex category. It's going to be a 225 actually for her. She takes second wheel, maybe waiting to get it into the front as Bolton again on the front. Lisa seems to be very strong for their team out here today. 58 races under her belt. Also, obviously, in Zone 8 last week for her qualifying run on April 1st.
She's a monster. Look at
She's
what's really
killing
been
it.
impressive.
He is killing
Yeah.
it here, Dave.
Setting a perfect tempo, too, for the team. See how the gaps didn't get huge, but they kept. That's about as good as you can do out there. So nice job, WTRL. So you can see that first split coming in now. So we are just waiting for data to trickle through at this point. These ladies are well past that second split here, so things getting a little stale.
Yeah, it looks like off the back just a little bit. It's gonna be Shelly. Is this gonna be Shelly Hindley? I believe. There's two actually. There's some very close names on here. That is gonna be Shelly Hindley, as Scotty Shell is going to be the shell that's on the front, kicking through out of Scotland right now. 62 races, level 31 Zwifter. But Shelly here needs. This is what we were talking about earlier, Dave. That struggle. She took a pull, a very solid pull on the climb. She's one of the stronger riders on the climbs here. One of the lighter riders actually amongst this team. But because of that light weight that she has, the downhills and the flats, those are going to be the struggle times for her if she's not exactly on the wheel. And now the team has to wait up a little bit. It does look like they're sending a rider back to help out. And Earl's
or
now
another rider
or
in trouble,
struggling,
actually.
maybe just in trouble. Yeah, good
like,
call there. Shelly, though, she's so
every
strong
now
on
and
the
then
climbs here, Dave. I think the climb may just continue on, and she may be able to just come back because she is such a lightweight powerhouse.
She does, but that's almost like that scenario where you see someone drowning in the river and you go to help them and then you drown yourself, right? Where I don't know if that rider went back to help, but if she did, as it pitches up, well, that's where Shelly excels. She's able to rejoin the group. So this is that really backs up what we were saying earlier. And that's where, so when you are that strong climber on the team, if you put yourself in the hurt locker a little too deep, well, all of a sudden, when you go over the climb, you find yourself, boy, the tables can turn on you quickly out here, especially on a course. Well, not especially. I should just say on a course like this, it can turn on you quickly. This is so different than if you're racing on Tempest Fugit. So here we are. This second lap is, I would say, a factor much more challenging than the first lap now, because now you start to deal with fatigue as well.
And you do see here, it looks like Earls and Shelly here trying to claw their way back. And you know what's really cool about this team? You know, they are looking at each other going, look, we're going to wait. It looks to me as if they're saying they're going to wait up. They're going to take everybody to the line together, perhaps. Now we do see maybe Bolton saying, well, I want to give a little bit of a dig, taking a pull, or maybe the digs here are only at 2.3 or so and allowing these other two to get back on terms. 3.5 here coming from Shelly. Now, we did say that she was a monster on the climbs. Now 4-1 watch for coming from Earls. Really one last dig, it looks like, because over the top is where it's going to matter, and that is only going to be a few hundred meters away for the top of this final climb. It'll all matter right here, whether or not it was even worth waiting. It looks like it is going to be just that. As Shelly now gets across. Solid effort from her. They're going to let Earls go, I think, 3 seconds back at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders right on through. And as I said, lightweight climber, punchy rider, made it happen.
It's incredible, and it shows you the difference how a type of rider excels. There's horses for courses, as we say. And I tell you, this rider 7, Shelly, is obviously a super strong climber and has to be one of the best in class here in Vienna Latte. So looking at the team now, again, 18.3K in. So they're really at 9K to go at this point with a couple tough climbs. They're right in the middle of one right now out here.
And we actually just got our data coming on through. Great to see.
Yep.
2420 from CrushPod, 2540 from WTRL. What? This is with, even with those weight ups, they are holding on at that 14K, but that 14K mark, Dave, I think that was right where things imploded for them. So there's going to be a huge story to be told between then and right here, because there was a lot of waiting that just happened, Dave. And I have a feeling that the Blackbirds, Edun as well, Adam Racing, all of those teams behind, they maybe have gotten a little bit of advantage, but look at CrushPod walking away with this one.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, so Nathan, 100% agree with you that you could see that cost them some time. You wonder what happened with the other teams out there. Is CrushPod 2 on an incredible day? I think so, to tell you the truth, as they are ready to smash it out here on the final lap. WTRL, what's up? They're in the conversation, and I love it. So, but Nathan, you make an excellent point there. Again, this next split is going to tell us so much more, because there was a lot of drama there, and I have a feeling that our friends at WTRL were not alone, because that's a challenging sector. Blackbirds sitting only 11 seconds back at that check. The Vikings are at 26.8. Oh, it's updating again. CrushPod 2 still the fastest time, but Socks for Watts, the Whatnots, with a 24.48. So that's going to put them, all right, at a 25.40. So 120 back from CrushPod is WTRL. Socks for Watts right in between them with a 24.48.
Yeah, very solid time here coming from the Socks, Watts, Whatnots. We'll get them on screen in just a moment here. Now, the Renegade E, they went out third on the day, 26.30, trying to bring some time back on the Adam Racing Electrons. But that 26.30, as you can see here, may be going back even more, as we have T.GJ off the back. The Danish team here a little bit separated. I do believe they have to wait up. It's going to be Anna Louise Ginsley. It's going to be Katrine Gottlieb, and then Christina Beckendorf and Maha Mitri. Those are the riders here, I believe, coming from this Renegade team. Actually, they did have a few others registered for the race, but perhaps we're unable to get everybody to the line for the starters, because I do see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in the signups here. So perhaps something before they got into the pens going down in real life. Bettina Oy-Noring, as well as Tanya Zurlovsen. Excuse my Danish isn't the best, most likely here, but solid here coming from Beckendorf as they lead over the top of the Queen of the Mountain in this Vienna Lattes here. Looks like a solid Danish crew.
Hey, I wouldn't say your Danish is the worst either. You're somewhere in the middle, Nathan.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate that here. This Christina Beckendorf here looks like a triathlete, actually, level 22. Solid 224 FTP. We're seeing a commonality, I think, here for these FTPs around this category. Right around that, like, lighter riders, I'm saying 170-ish up to, and then the riders who are maybe a little bit more of those powerhouses up into that 220 to 230 range is kind of the upper limit, it seems like, amongst these ladies.
We're short a Renegade, though.
We are. I'm waiting for a ruling on this. We'll see. And usually it is 4 across the line. I am waiting for an update. We'll see if I do get one on what's happening and whether or not they have to wait. It does look like they're letting TJG go at this point, though.
Interesting. I've never heard of an exception being made. If there's
starting with 4 riders. Starting with 4 riders, I think, or starting with 3. It's like if you start with 3 and that's all you could show up with. So I think since they started with 4, they have to have 4. I'm not positive. I'm waiting to see. But I think and it has something to. So
that makes sense. I could see how that would work.
The reality of in real life, you started at a disadvantage with 3 riders, right? So and you've got some sort of in real life thing that happened, or who knows what, or we can only show up with 3. We qualified, but we can only show up with 3, or we want to show up still, and all we have is 3. When you show up, you have to at least finish with those 3. Time. Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if that's true, that's really cool. I think that's fair. Certainly, there's no advantage that you're gaining by starting with 3. I think it's just being inclusive and trying to keep people involved.
At the moment, Vienna, there is leniency Correct. PL requires a
Okay,
minimum
good.
of 4. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. Wait for on WTRL. So they may allow things to just give a go at this point across the line. We'll see how things go. GSH Gold now, as you do see, 8th place currently struggling with a 27.05. They've got a lot of time to make up here. And again, VSH, I'm only seeing 2 riders as they've dropped burn at this point. Now, as they just continue to hammer along. And I have a feeling now here they started with 5 riders, so they got to come across the line with at least that 4. I'm not sure this is going to be working out for them. As Gold, maybe just looking to get a workout at this point because there may have been a dropout or something, or maybe we have a ghost rider at this point. Not positive because this is mayhem for GSH Gold.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that reminds me of my high school experience where I think at the end of my senior year, they said, hey, you know, you don't have enough English credits, but you're close enough. We're going to let you go. So, you know how it is. Sometimes you got to be flexible out here. As we got Taplin with TFC. Now, they've got 3 riders as well right now as we look at TFC Storm. We've talked about what a
2 seconds back, though. 2 seconds back, though. Yeah, there you go, Dave.
So this has been a heck of a day. Super challenging. So it's not surprising at all, is it, Nathan, to see these teams in this conundrum here with little splits that have happened, coming back together. You don't find too many days like this in the WTRL. They've got a ways to go as well. So this is where you just kind of want to settle down, find your rhythm again as a 5-rider unit because you have, at this point, 7K to go. It's about another, more than 10 minutes in the saddle here.
Yeah, we had talked about this at the beginning of the show, the reality of this course being just a blow-up course, that there's just so many sections where you can just take the team out. The consistency, the unison is what it really is all about. Now, more to the front here. She seems to be a solid climber amongst them. 185 beats per minute. She's really giving it at this point. The Blackbird here, SG, now off the back. So it does look like Sue G, level 23 Zwifter, and she's just starting into Zwift racing this year. She's got, it looks like 9 races under her belt. Did the stages of dirt back on the 10th of January. Great to see her jumping in and amongst this TFC team here now at this point for the Blackbirds. Just looked like she did do the Zwift Racing League starting on the 12th. So it looks like that was a big impetus for her to get into the reality of Zwift racing. That's absolutely awesome to see. Jumped into our Platinum League as well back on the 4th of February. So she's been really committed racer, it looks like, since the start of this year.
That's really cool. And, you know, she was a part of the team through at least the first half of the race, so she's right there. TFC Blackbird's in with the 36:17. That's going to be our fastest time, but it's close. WTRL, what's up, Nathan? There's the answer to what we were wondering. They're on a great ride. They fought back. 36:25, 8 seconds behind our fastest time. Then you go to a minute back for the fastest time of the Blackbirds to the Renegade E team, or I guess Renegade, and it's a 37:18 for them. Adam Racing Team Electrons in with a 37:28. So there we go. These checks coming in from, well, I'm going to say a little past 2/3 into the race, but that tells us an awful lot about where things are at. I would say it's a 2-team race at this point between the Blackbirds and What's Up.
Looking here at Moore, I want to give a shout out to her also from this team. And 2 stories going on here. First, Moore, newer Zwifter, absolutely new Zwifter, level 15. She doesn't have a single Zwift Power race, actually, besides this one from what I can see. Great pickup, it looks like, for the team.
Not as fresh as they get.
Yeah, as fresh as they get. Level 15. Really cool to see Susie Moore hammering away out of the UK. But another part of the story is that we saw this TFC Storm team. That's not the team we're currently looking at, actually, but Lloyd rides for the same team as the guest rider on the mixed team, actually, that we saw earlier. So really cool to see. Joanne, yeah. Gladwell, yeah. So very cool to see that TFC, that they've really mixed and matched. And it looks like we were talking about earlier today, the teams mixing and matching for each day and who wants to ride where amongst the team and who needs a member at certain times or maybe what's better for the course. And I'm absolutely loving to see the way that the teams work together, make sure that they're out there each and every week hammering away. And that is going to be A. Lloyd here, level 22 Zwifter. And another shout out to Becky Roden. Absolutely awesome to see Becky out here as well. She is a
Well,
part
good
of
for
this
her.
team. I mean, I'm seeing that she was registered for this. I'm not sure she's held on. Maybe one of the riders that got dropped off early on amongst TFC here, but she was registered, though, it looks like, for TFC Storm and the TFC team out here today.
Oh, that's cool. Well, all right. They've been out there for 40 minutes. This has been a huge effort from TFC Storm. I'm taking a look now. It's their counterparts, the
Blackbirds.
Blackbirds,
Sorry,
had the
sorry,
fastest time,
Blackbirds. Yep.
right?
Storm
They're,
is the team that competes in the ZRL, right?
got
And
you. Right.
so that's just their team tag in game. The Blackbirds is who we're looking at here in the WTRL. Carly Williams hammering away out of Wales. She got level 25 and 40 races under her belt, actually.
See, Crushpod 2 came through with a 34:37, Nathan. So that's going to be our fastest time by a lot right now. They are having an incredible.
Well, that's the name. They're crushing it, Dave.
Yeah. Look at the pitch here. This is as steep as it gets. Boy, your trainer, it sounds like a box of rocks right now. As they're going to have to go on with 4 at this point. That's a deceptive angle there. That you can see the riders on the team just behind you, but that's about 20 seconds of climbing to get up to where they are. So here we go. It looks like TFC. Now this is the team. Where are they sitting now? The Blackbirds, well, still in the top 5 here as they're looking to chase down Watts UPC, the WTRL team. Crushpod.
Look at Crushpod. Look at them. Look at all the Trons bike, the fluorescent. You can't miss them. They're all together still. They know what they're doing.
Level.
Woo!
Next level, Nathan. This looks like a real squad, doesn't it? So, and imagine when they come over the top of this one, they are going to be absolutely flying. This is a full 8 riders together.
Yeah, they are doing an amazing job out here today. It's going to be, I believe, Olivia Nunn, Deerdorf, McLean, Madeline Hatfield, Laura Newell, Caroline Kralb, Ellie Robson, Robin S., as well as Regina Langhammer, all riding for that Crushpod 2. Olivia is absolutely killing it off the front here right now. She's a level 32 Zwifter. She's got 84 races under her belt. Last time we've seen her out racing, it looks like she did jump into the Zwift Racing League actually this past Tuesday. Good to see her to EMEA West Division 4. Solid effort from her out there in level. She took a 26th place in the Zwift Racing League. That's nothing to wink at, that's for sure, as it's one of the most competitive racing leagues, obviously, out in the world of Zwift. Robson grabbing on the wheel, it looks like here, and they're going to glue this all together. Look at that steady line. Amazing job here, keeping it together. They're not really separating too much. One rider struggling just a tad. It is going to be Robin S. Now, she is going to get back on terms. It doesn't look like they're waiting even. It looks like she's just digging, just grinding a little bit more to find that wheel.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you really find out how dedicated you are to team time trialing, because nothing is going to hurt more than this. We don't have any in-camera looks this week, but maybe that's a good thing, because these riders are going to be turning themselves inside out. Again, look at Crushpod here. This is something to see this many riders together, and they're setting the fastest times by a long shot. Socks for Watts, Whatnots, Nathan, coming through. We're going to update that time.
Well, right there. Flat. Coming on maybe late.
Not that far out. Yeah, that's
not bad.
That's doable. Yeah. This is where Crushpod might have to make, they might need to make a decision whether they try to keep the whole team together or not here, because they don't have a lot of wiggle room.
They don't, but these 3 cannot get away. I mean, if they do have 3 riders that are just stronger at this point, you can't go with 3. And the reality is they're going to get into this rhythm section, into the flat after this climb. There's going to be another wall that's in front of them. And then that downhill, though, that section is going to have an advantage of snowball effect with all the riders still together. It could gain you some seconds, but the seconds lost by trying to keep it together on the climbs may be more. Now, I do want to point out that Robin S. actually coming out of the Virgin Islands. That's not a flag that we see very often. Hammering away. Yeah, not something that we see very often at all. That's going to be Robin S., who we saw get back on terms. She's level 31 Zwifter. Looks like a monster on the bike, a TT specialist from what it looks like to me. Full get up on Zwift Power and her Zwift Power profile, riding for the Crushpod team. 123 races underneath their belt. Does look like No Zwift
They're all
Racing
together.
League for her. It's just all about training out there for. This is going to be her first TT, actually. TTT from what I can see. I have not seen a single other TTT, actually, from Robin S. So very cool to see this pickup for Crush Pod jumping in amongst this team.
Do you have your flag cheat sheet available? Because
No,
if
I
you
don't.
do,
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I'm wondering, what is Newell's flag there as well? There's some interesting international racers showing up with us for WTRL this week. That's the flag for Virgin Islands. That's extremely cool to see.
Virgin Islands for Robin S, and then for Newell's, I'll most likely be able to find out what's happening here for you, and that's gonna be Zimbabwe. Newell is coming.
I was gonna say that looks like an
Zimbabwe. African flag for sure. Level 17 Zwifter, newer. Now it looks like has gotten into the Zwift world specifically around racing, perhaps being a level 17. It might have been a pickup. Word of mouth is one of the biggest, things when it comes to getting involved in sports and getting involved with others racing. Interesting. What is the connection with Zimbabwe, though, perhaps, that these other riders would have found her? But we're back on March 15th of this year was when she registered for Zwift Power, only level 17 out of Zimbabwe. Interesting to see. Be a great story to tell, actually, about how she got involved with this WTRL, because on the March 18th, 3 days after having her first event on Zwift, is her first WTRL team time trial, which speaks to how much WTRL and the team time trial has done for gaining awesome people into our community.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you're going to talk about African nations, by far South Africa seems to have the highest number of races that we see on Zwift. Kenya shows up every now and then, but that's a cool new flag to see. So we'll have to do some investigating. That sounds like a good story for World of Zwift, which
Crush Pod, when Crush Pod showed up on the scene, the way they showed up too was like they had a poster right away. They were in the game. It was like, "Pow, we're making a splash." Yeah, exactly. And they're the beast modes of the lattes right now is what they are. Is they're walking away with this one. Sox Watts are trying to bring this back, but I think that perhaps it also speaks to why that recruiting maybe was going on, or pulling in people that they know. So maybe a little bit of that as well. Crash Pod killing it. This is the final climb. Are they going to keep it together is going to be the question, because Sox Whatnots are trying to chase them down.
They certainly look like they're going to. You're going to see riders going through a rough patch here, but not so bad that you think we need, wow. But you pick up, so obviously on a different part of the course, it's completely flat right now. They're
about to hit that same climb. They are about to hit that same climb, and this is going to be the Velocio, I believe, Velo City, Angler Velo City. They're in sixth place right now with the 36.27, trying to chase down those Blackbirds we were watching for quite a long time.
That's the Blackbirds right up the road, Nathan. You can just see them.
No, excuse me. That's actually going to be a Vikings team, I believe.
Sorry. Thank you. Thanks for the correction there. The Vikings.
Yeah, Blackbirds are almost across the finish line. They're quite a ways up, actually, from these teams. But this Viking team still with 4 all together. That's going to be Idan, 37-11. That's who Angular Velocity is chasing. And that would make a lot of sense as they started 7th and 6th seed. So Angular Velocity have been chasing them the entirety of the race, actually. And they have brought it back only to a few seconds. It was almost 45 seconds out at the last time check, but now they're only about 6 seconds. They may actually make the catch on the climb.
Time to go to the workbench, get the brass tacks out, because that's where we're at. It's time to finish up the job here. As the business end has arrived, they're down to 2.2K to go. Boy, you got to dig deep at this point, Nathan. So we're going to start getting finishing times in here. It looks like today was a day for Crush Pod. One team looking to upset that apple cart, and that would be Sox for Watts Whatnots. I think that realistically, they're the one team left with a shot as we take a look at an overtaking here. Both teams down to 4 riders, so bare minimum here as far as finishing. It looks like it gets a little sticky there.
Yeah, RWB, SH, they were caught a little earlier by Angular, I think. It's interesting because I think they caught Angular once, And then now Rogan saw that she was going too fast, I think, over the top there and had to back off so he doesn't drop the rest of the riders because they need all four. Ford with a little bit of a kick now. Cassidy, too. They're trying to bring all four of the green jerseys over the top here. It looks like they're going to make it happen. They got to get through Iden over the top. They do not want to send all together, so there's got to be one final kick. Rogan's going to make it happen, it looks like here. And this was one of the top-seeded teams. They were sitting... it looks like the 9th team, so they were the second fastest team from last week. Whatnots is who they're competing with out there, but they're 27 seconds back at the last time check here. I mean, are they going to come on strong in the back end? I mean, this is amazing right now to watch between all these teams.
Yeah, what a moment there in WTRL history. This is absolutely bananas. Rogan is a monster. She's so strong, she literally stops pedaling to wait for the team to rejoin, picks them up, grabs them by the scruff of their neck, like watching a mother bear taking 3 cubs across the road. Like, that was something else from Rogan. That's going to be the ride of the day in my mind. This Irish woman is a beast.
Yeah, that is going to be, I believe, Joanna Rogan, if I'm not incorrect, coming out of Ireland, 227 watt FTP. She's a veteran.
Yikes.
She's got 66 races under her belt. She just raced two days ago, also in the MEA West Division, up against some of, these ladies are all really familiar with themselves. We just were talking about another racer on another team in this TTT, racing in the Zwift Racing League on Tuesday. This rider also did the same, beat that 26th place by 2 places. She took 24th, actually, in the Bs in the Zwift Racing League in the WTRL, and hammering to the line now. Joanna Rogan over the top of that climb, carrying the team, it looks like, now as Ford tries to sit in.
All right, so yeah, you get a good look really well inside the final K of racing here. 4 riders together, but this was an exceptional second half of the race here. Whew. All right, well, I'm not sure how this one's going to play out. If that was the 3rd place team, can you imagine what things were like being in Socks for Watts or Crush Pod today?
Yeah, Karen Cassidy, this is an awesome kick here. 50-plus rider. Absolutely smashing. Now, currently 87 races under her belt. This is be number 88. She took 22nd in that same, beat her teammate, actually, Joanna Rogan, to the line in the Zwift Racing League on Tuesday. Great to see as Rogan now takes over again at the front. Cassidy, I think, with maybe a little bit of a kick on underneath her. Gallagher is there as well, looking to come through. They did drop a few off, so they're coming to the line with 4, most likely using Discord to make that happen. Eleanor Gallagher now going to have a little bit of a kick. It looks like leading it out, but it is going to be Rogan Ford. This is the Irish team making their way to the line. RWB. Solid result for them. Keep on moving our way back, though. Let's go ahead and see if we can find Sox Watts, because this was the battle we were talking about. White, Hardy, Potts. It looks like all together still. It's going to be Lobakit. I'm going to say, help me out. Is that going to be Hungary that she's coming from?
Yes, good call. So taking a look now, we learned that's Hungary. Nice work. So, all right, taking a look, Socks for Watts. This is a brand in the WTRL without any doubt. This is a very honorable ride that we're looking at from the Whatnots edition here. Living up to what Socks for Watts is all about, being in the mix for the win, bringing it home. They've got 200 meters to go. They come around this bend. They'll see the finish arch.
Yeah, great effort here coming from them. Amazing effort coming from Socks Watts. We'll see if they can make this happen. It is very tight here at this point, right to the line. Is Tina Ryman in here as well as Potts, it looks like? Hardy, I think they did drop a few off because the reality is they just had to just let it fly to try and catch the riders that were up ahead with Crush Pod. Across the line, solid effort here. We're going to have all of our riders across the line as Whatnots were the last to go. They were the fastest last week, but did Crush Pod make it happen is going to be the question, because it was a couple of new additions actually to their team this week. We'll have to wait and see. Solid results, though, for all the women's riders. That is going to be the Vienna Latte that we just saw come across the line. We are waiting for our results to come on in. Sorry. Thank you so much, Martin Carew. Martin just completely corrected us. There's a Lithuanian flag. I knew I was one of them. I knew I was close.
That's it.
Thank you very much, Martin. It's not the orange is what did that little bit of orangish.
Now I want to
Yellow,
see
yellow.
Hungary.
Now,
Yeah.
well, it's maybe I
It's
can
got
maybe
to be
production
close.
maybe production can help you out with that one. Okay, production, can you get on that for us real quick? Thanks.
But
Let you know.
Lithuania.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
we're kind of close. It's red on top, white in the middle, and a dark green on the bottom. So we were a little bit
Right.
off. It was the red and the green, I think, that threw us off a little bit there. So
We got caught up with the yellow. The
come
yellow
on,
is where
talent. Come on, talent. What are you guys doing? What are you guys
talent
doing?
dropping the ball again.
Dropping the ball
Again.
here.
So,
Oh man.
well, all right. Tough day out there for everybody, Nathan. If you want to look
I'm
at
not,
so-
I'm kind of looking forward to tonight, but I'm also kind of dreading tonight a little bit too because, it looks like it's going to be a tough one. We do have results coming in, it looks like, and let's go ahead and start in. We'll start in with the men's at the top of the Doppio for number 103, Dave. This looks like it was quite the battle, but we had a little bit of a walk away. Solid job here, it looks like, as it is going to be Innovation Aliens at the top.
There it is with the 37.29, good as gold. Kirkmeyer, Espresso 1. Will they win in the premiere? And that's a silver today in our Doppio class. BL13, the Bullets, is our bronze medal winning team. They were 1 minute back. Vision for 4th. On the Rivet Blur in 5th. INC Alien Express in 6th. Z-Sun R. Red Giants in 7th. Atom Racing Team Nuclear in 8th. Team Electric Spirit.co Sling Edition in 9th, and then Z-Sun R Hercules round out our top 10. You can see not all of those times came out of our Premier League, Platinum League that we just watched, as Vision was out of Zone 4, and Z-Sun R Hercules started off the day in Zone 1. But there's your top 10 fastest times so far today.
I have a feeling some of these are jumping back into the TTT specifically to get primed up again for the Zwift Racing League, as some teams may be a little frustrated with the result this past Tuesday. So nothing better to do. When I was watching some of the coverage, you guys were talking a little bit about that, and there is a reality. We were also talking about it on the APAC. We did get one stream out on Tuesday, but I think the reality of trying to TTT on your own versus doing it in racing when the pressure is on and the organization that has to happen, it's just a different animal, and it makes the team perform together. So I think racing is the only way to really practice best. But and the great way to do is on Tuesdays. So
let's take a look at
Cryogen Kestrels, it looks like here, Dave, at the top. Wow! What? Look at that! I mean, that's the
closest finish I've ever seen.
I've never seen anything that close. No, I don't think we've ever had thousands. I mean, that's about as close as it gets. Cryogen Kestrels and the TSZ Waffles pretty much tied.
Butterfly's wing.
Yeah, I mean, that was and the person who sat up in the sprint is like kicking themselves right now. Anyone who didn't just do everything in the sprint is going, "Are you kidding me?" Oh my gosh! Wow.
You could look at it the other way. The other way to look at it, Nathan, would be the Kestrel that threw up as they came across the line. Won it for the Kestrel, right?
Yeah.
What an incredible race. Waffles, great job. Wow, fantastic to be on this course. Now, you see that on Tempest Fugit, you're amazed. I see it here, and my mind is blown. That's insane.
Amazing job ride there by those guys in the Espresso. Down and Dirty Vipers there, 27 seconds back for a 39.11. 1 second back, Innovation Alien Monsters. Very close racing. Only a 2 second split, between 3rd and 5th for the podium. What a battle for that podium there, with Cryogen Gulls coming in for 5th. Jack is coming in for 6th. Dirticular in 7th. Evo Espresso in 8th. Innovation Aliens 2 in 9th. And the Garage Pain Chasers, I love that name, says everything about Zwift, in 10th.
Let's take a look at the Frappes now, as it was Kirkmeyer Frappe 1 taking a win with the 39.54. Silver medal going to Evo Vortex 1, 45 seconds back. At 101 back for the bronze, Cryogen Hawks. In 4th place, it's Z Scott the Kelpies. 5th goes to Eat Dirt. INC Alien Invaders in 6th, Vikings Ben Rear in 7th, Evo Vortex 2 for 8th, Dirt Time Chasers BC rounding in 9th, and then it's R3R ACDC rounding out your top 10 for a very competitive Frappe class today. 137 back. That's your 10th place team. That's a really solid job by the entire class.
Jumping into our featured class, and it looks like in the lattes, it was the a team we didn't even watch in the Platinum. Wow, the Rhinos, they come back, and it looks like they may have taken a week or two off because they, out of zone 6, end up taking 44-32. Very familiar name to us, the Woolly Rhinos. The Pewakas there.
By 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, 1.68 seconds. So close here. Cryogen, that team we were watching, the Pewakas, they did walk away with it. They were battling it out with Two Guys Nada, but Two Guys Nada, they actually dropped all the way down to 7th place after battling that second half of the course. They blew up, I think, early on, Dave. We saw the separations happen. There was a lot of weight, and that's what happened there. But third on the podium, 2, TFC Hornets for 4th, Team Type 1 Lancet for 5th, Kurtzmer Frappe 2 for 6th, Two Guys Nada, as we said, dropping down to 7th after being in 2nd place for quite a long time in the Platinum League. At least there were a couple other zones in between. Valhalla Gunner there in 8th. It's going to be 3L in 9th. And then for 10th place, ZRG, our Team TTT3 in Zone 3 with a 46.01. And then on to the Mochas.
All right. Well, you can see on the top of the table, it's Team Type 1, A1Cs with the 49.56. Good for the win today. Only 5.5 seconds quicker than another one of the Rhino squads, the RR Black Rhinos. So in our Mochas, taking the bronze medal, it's Z Sun R Nebula. And they were not that, well, you can see actually that's two teams right there, then 229 back for the bronze medal. TFC Hurricane in 4th. Sumatran Rhinos in 5th, Spooky Blokes in 6th, Valhalla Dragvandal in 7th, Cryogen the Snowgeese for 8th, TFC Hawk in 9th, and then TVR the Renegades in 10th for our Mochas.
Jumping back to let's get a reload here real quickly just to make sure we're good to go. And it is going to be the Sockswats Aero Unicorns actually at the top of the Vienna Espresso. CCR Race Like a Girl, they end up taking down 2nd. BRT Atomic Kittens for 3rd place. Kirchner Women Dev there in 4th. It's going to be Cryogen RDT Rens in 5th. Vikings Valkyrie in 6th, and Sisu Du rounding out the top 7. Interesting to see Sasrawat's Aero Unicorns. WRT, I think, maybe taking a week off. They did just race with a lot of them for Hino, as well as a lot of, it's interesting how many of them raced for separate teams in the Premier Division on Tuesdays in the Zwift Racing League. Most likely getting a little bit of a rest and training up for next week, Tuesday. But again, maybe some guest riders there as well in Aero Unicorns from that WRT team and able to battle it out with Sisu Race Like a Girl. I think also Sisu may be missing some of their top talent as well because of Premier Division. But all from Premier League, though, for Vienna Espresso.
Yeah, and here we go. Some more Premier League and Socks for Watts up on top. It's going to be Vienna Frappe gold medal winners in our Premier League or Platinum League. Here is Socks for Watts Odd Socks. Taking the silver medal will be Z Sun R Pluto. Bronze medal going to the Cinnamon Rolls for TSC. It's BLCR in 4th. Angular Power for 5th. WTRL WhatsApp 2 in 6th. Evo Comet 7th. Vegan Gazelles in 8th, Vegan Bees in 9th, and Kirkmeyer Wild Bees in 10th. So there's your Vienna Frappes.
Looking at our featured Vienna Lattes, how did it play out? Crash Pod held on, they walked away. That solid kick over the top of that final climb on the UCI course paid off, and Crash Pod 2. What amazing ride by them. WTRL Watts up C there. UPC there coming in for 2nd place. It was a battle between them and the TFC Blackbirds, one of our featured teams as well out there today. Nice job between all of them for the podium. NCTC Mares there coming in through 4th out of another zone. We did not see them on the images today, but great job to them for that 4th place, and they will qualify for next week's Platinum League. Renegade E, the Danish team, they held on for 51-32. 1. And then out of Zone 4, the TSZ Sticky Buns get a 6th place there. Adam Racing Electrons hold on for 7th. Virtuslow, that's going to be the virtual Slovenian pink team there, coming on through for 8th. Hot Flush in 9th. And then Rav CC in 10th. A lot of those teams that we're seeing in the bottom half of this top 10 were not Premier League, actually. So we will have a lot more qualifiers coming on through. Very good to see. Make sure to be watching out for your emails to see if you want to get into the features for next week. At least into the Platinum League for next week, as we will be moving our feature, though, for next week. We'll get updates on that in just a second. But on over to the Vienna Mocha here, Dave.
And it was a 49-42 for Z-Sun Quasar to take the gold medal. Angular Momentum ends up with the silver at 2 seconds back. Excuse me, there's that 2 minutes back.
Yep.
So Angular, wow. So that was quite a ride from Quasar out here today. Angular Momentum for silver, Live by Cycling gold for the bronze. Tugazi Sonos in 4th, Evo Swifts in 5th, Rave C Euro in 6th, the Vikings Freya taking 7th today. 8th place goes to Angular Speed. It's QNL Racing in 9th, and then Adam Racing, Team Ions in 10th. And same thing here, Nathan. Only 2 of the fastest 10 times came out of the Platinum League today. So it's pretty wide open now for teams that we will see making an appearance in the Platinum League next week.
And we want to just shout out as well these teams that are in the Vienna Mocha as well as regular Mocha. They are the featured team for next week. So make sure, if you are part of Mochas, the featured teams for next week in the Platinum League, watch your emails, let us know, make sure to get back to us, and we will make sure to get you into our features. Now, for next week, number 104, believe we are on Sand and Sequoias for 2 laps. That is a long one, 42 kilometers. So that'll be really interesting out there. Very cool to see. And if you want to get registered, make sure to do so by 7 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Central time next Wednesday. Get your team together. You saw how many of those new people were part of the WTRL TTT today that were part of our feature. It's always great to see. Get your friends, head on out, get your posters in, get a part of the competition. Be lots of fun. Now, the Zwift Running League, April 16th to May 21st, 2021. Time zones across the entire world. Make sure to jump into registration. I am being told team registration will open tomorrow to allow people to gather their teams together through the 16th. Jump on in. This is the zones that are going to be served. Zwift Running League over at WTRL.racing is where you can find all the information for that. So, Dave, that's going to be it for us today. What a race. Mocha's next week. I can't wait to see how things play out for next week on Sand and Sequoia. Sand and Sequoia is going to be an interesting course. We got dinosaurs. We've got a climb that's not very punchy, though. I mean, it's pretty steady, but you can kind of keep things together. The back end, actually, of that climb, the downhill, leaving the forest, I think, and going past Jarvis the Bear, that's the struggle point. So that's an interesting course. I really like that course, actually, when it comes to TTT.
I would agree. That one, it's kind of got all of the elements, nowhere near as severe as today. If you finished out here today, you earned that biscuit or cookie, whatever you call it. Go enjoy it, because that had to be rough. Great job to all of our racers today in the WTRL. Look forward to seeing you back here next week.
Quick shout out. I did tell chat to interact with us, and Stuart Featherstone jumped in. He said, "Hi, Nathan and Dave. Worst course ever, but Diggler's dug deep today." He said, "This is my hometown, and it doesn't get any easier." Well, Stuart, we are looking forward to your poster next week to let us know how you and Pete are going to figure out how to take on that course for Sand and Sequoias. We'll be watching out for that, as it's become quite a part of the legacy and the saga here at Zwift Community Live, as well as WTRL. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Great job to all the racers. Make sure to head to WTRL.racing for all the results. And as always, everybody, a ride on.